Here I am. Off to the side because I'm leaning.
Actually,
It says I have an excellent connection, so I am live. Put that over here so I can see my timing. Hey, Aaron. Hi. Ian says hello, everyone. Ah, it's a Sunday again. Boy, I didn't sleep much last night. We had some thunder. Carla says, hi, Siofra and Ian. How was your week? Hi, everyone. Hi, Carla. Yeah, last night we had some pretty good shakes. I checked the lightning app and they were in our neighborhood. We had some lightning strikes in our neighborhood, so that was quite fun. Ian says, I hope you're all doing great. Olivia says, I'm so glad I caught you. I usually don't catch your lives until it's almost over. Well, welcome, Olivia. Thank you for being here. Carla says, I was up all night long. I guess it was running
yeah,
around.
we were
Aaron,
up all night because of thunder booms.
thunder, boom, boom. Boy. Aaron says, it's raining here. Yeah, last night it was definitely raining in the middle of all the thunder and stuff. Teresa says, hi, made it in the nick of time. Eating chicken pie now. Well, thank goodness for chicken pie. I made us some orange chicken and we just had lunch and some pumpkin pie that we had. So it was pretty
Very
good.
nice.
Yep. So we had a good lunch. And other than that, with the rain and the thunder, boy, it was just really moving the house. Just we were shaking like crazy. Carla says, oh, yum, Teresa. Apparently, Carla likes a chicken pie. We had chicken too. It was orange chicken without the breading or the batter, whatever. So healthy orange chicken. Now we have to get more orange juice. We're going to have it again. Had exactly the amount we needed, exactly 1 cup. But hey. Ah. So, Olivia, since you're here, what do you want to talk about? Carlos says, you guys are making me hungry. I'm having tacos. Good for you. Teresa says, I got my kiln loaded in last night at 10 p.m. after 4 days of prep work. So exhausted. Wow, I bet. That's a lot of work doing all that. It's energy intensive. Shay says, your orange chicken sounds delicious, and whoa, that thunderstorm sounded intense. Yes, it was. And of course, everybody was up on Facebook talking about it. And I said, I think we're all awake. I don't see how anyone could sleep through this. But the cat and the bunny were fine. Haley says, good afternoon, Siofra and Ian. Haven't been here in a while, so I hope health has improved for you both. Yes,
We're doing good.
Haley. Thank you for asking, and I'm glad that you're here. Olivia says, I am up for anything. Carla says, I'm getting lots of Native American artifacts turning up from auctions, and I'm not Native. Interesting. We had a little excursion we went on Friday. I suddenly had a desire to go to town and go to this new shop. It was a witchy shop that I suddenly discovered was here and wanted to see what it was all about. And it was okay. It wasn't as advertised. I mean, the only tools they had were brooms and some candles and some incense and things like that. But it was fun to get out of the house and go down there. And while we were there, Ian found something for himself. So I brought it along for show and tell. He found it. He found himself a Garuda statue. Vishnu standing on Garuda's head. See if I can get a close up of that so you can see it. Let me see as I watch and make sure I didn't like blot it out. Yep, there it is. A hand carved statue. He's pretty cute, so we were pretty excited. It was only $18, and so now he has his own little statue. We're getting quite a collection of Garuda things in our house.
True. He just seems to find us.
He does. He seems to find us. Carla says, feathers, 5 yesterday. Dave says, wow, that's gorgeous. Haley says, wow, that is so very cool. And Carla says, oh my God, look at him. He's gorgeous. Yeah, and he likes to be praised. But I mean, it's not, there's so many different configurations of Garuda and Vishnu. And I knew that it had to be that because the wings on the bottom figure is pretty typical of a Garuda figure. And sometimes he doesn't look like a bird, sometimes he looks like a person. But the fact that Vishnu is actually sitting straight on his head is just so adorable. But anyway, so it was kind of fun following intuition and just sort of, finding the thing we were supposed to find, not knowing what we were looking for. I thought I was going out looking for crystals and whatnot. They had some nice hats. I mean, they had some gorgeous brocade, like witch hats, but I wasn't going to buy myself one yet. Not now, anyway. Dia says, hi, Siofra and Ian. Hi, Dia. Carla says, so spirits on the move. Yes. And Haley says, who likes the praise, Ian or Vishnu? I think Vishnu and Garuda like to praise the statue. Although, how do you feel about it, Ian?
Take praise.
He'll take praise too.
As long as it's not too
over the top.
Gratuitous, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm not fond of like over the top
No,
compliments.
me neither, yeah.
I have a hard time trusting them. It's like, especially when people I don't know.
Actually, I'd much rather have appreciation than praise.
Yep. Olivia says, cool, good find. And Teresa says, Vishnu will probably take a ride to the moon. Well, he goes wherever he wants. I'm not sure where he likes to hang out, but yes. So, I mean, it's like I was sitting here and I suddenly thought on Friday morning, it was like, we're supposed to be doing something today. I'm not sure what. And I thought maybe I'd go to our local mall and look at the crystal shop because they're not open on Mondays, which is often the day I think about it. I thought they should be open today. And then I was trying to find out what time they opened. And then I discovered the other place. And this is one of those like indoor malls kind of things, a big building, and everyone has their own little booth and stuff. And I saw this shop I had not heard about, and I thought, I should go check that out and see what it's all about. So that's what got us out the door. And then this was not in that shop. This was a different vendor. And we thought, you know what? This is just perfect. So we were going to find something for Ian, not for me. But that's just one of those things when you're following your intuition. You don't always have to know exactly where it's leading you. If you feel that tug, that pull, that says, here's a string of energy that is going in this direction, and you should follow that and see what's at the other end of it. And so that's what I did. And we had a nice day. It was nice to have a bit of a break. Even's been working so hard on the house and vehicles and stuff like that. I figured he deserved a bit of a break, and it was a nice day that day, so we could just go out and hang out and just do a few things, and then we were ready. And I stopped traffic. This was entertaining. I was wearing I have a long purple skirt that's just very sparkly. I bought it for when I was doing the hand fasting for my daughter for her wedding, and it's like advertised as a belly dancing skirt and stuff like that. It's a very light skirt, but it's iridescent and it changes color in the sunlight. And I've really wanting to wear it lately, and so I've been wearing it like almost every day this past week. I get like that when I find something I want to wear. I just tend to wear it out. And so we parked our car and we're walking towards the store where we're going to find this guy. And this woman suddenly comes to a stop on the street right next to me. We were in the middle of the block, and she yells out her window, "You made me stop. I love your skirt." So I was like, "Well, thank you very much." And then she went on her way. So that was kind of entertaining to make somebody stop in traffic. Fortunately, there wasn't someone too close behind her because I worry when people do that. But
Well, it was a nice.
yeah,
It
it
was
is
a
a
nice
very
skirt.
nice skirt. I love that skirt. It's very light too. It doesn't weigh you down or anything because of the fabric. So that was just fabulous. So another good sign before we even found the statue.
Yeah.
It's just one of those kind of days. Carlos says that's awesome. Teresa says following the energy really works. I remember when I was traveling and needed my bangs cut, I followed the energy straight to a hair salon, but it was closed. Small town. Lana says, hello there, Siofra. I'm curious to know your type on MBTI INFJ, maybe. Hugs from Brazil. Hi, Lana. Um, I think I know what you're talking about, and I took those psychology tests at one point, and I kind of came out um, both an A and a B type kind of thing. So extroverted and introverted. So I'm not sure what all the letters mean. It's been a long time since I took that. So I don't think I can answer the question accurately at this point. But I thought it was interesting. We took a something like that, like in massage class, and I rated equally for being a leader and being like a participant, which I thought was a good sign of balance. That I was comfortable and equally in both. And it's true. It's like I'm taking a class from someone else. I don't have a problem just learning from other people. And if I'm teaching, I don't have a problem with teaching. So and leading a group of people around to wherever they need to go or whatever I see. So I think that's what you're talking about anyway. So you'll have to let me know. Teresa says that when I got to a city, I followed the energy trail and got to a salon that was open. Energy, yeah. And it can work really well sometimes if you're tuned in and you're paying attention to those subtle urges. Carla says, was invited to ride up to a reservation last Monday, and a couple of guys took us through a reconstruction of a longhouse at their cultural center. It was pretty cool. Ancient grinding stone beside it. Nice. Yeah, up in British Columbia, some of the reconstructed Haida villages and other native places I've been to, it's pretty interesting to see their longhouses and how they structure them and stuff. Barry Sanderson says, hi, Siofra. What are your thoughts on what I can do to protect the land and house I am in? Any spells or rituals or crystals or something else? Okay, so there's a lot of things you can do to protect the house and the land that you're in. If you can make a connection with the local land guardian spirit, that's a good way to start. Doing an introduction. Um, all of them are a little bit different, so every area has got its own kind of unique energy signature, but going outside where there's some trees or something like that and just talking to the environment and the spirits that inhabit the place and telling them who you are, what you're about, why you're there, how you can, feel them, honor them, give them an offering. Some of them like the tobacco as an offering, or sage, or a stone. I had the one here that I met, I gave it a piece of a patchy tear to honor the things that the land had been through, the painful crises and things like that with what had happened since it had come about, the cultural changes and stuff. And then the woman whose house it was smoked, and so she offered it tobacco, and so we sort of made friends with it. So and it actually tried to protect me from a person who came into my house, and actually came into my house to kind of like warn me. So that was sort of interesting. And as far as stones go, we have like obsidian, that we have some obsidian boulders and things like that, and some petrified wood and whatnot, and different kinds of stones that we set out around our house. And you can do it inside of your house as well. You can put, we have some corners, I forget that I have them there, and I'll go clean house and I'll find, I'll find a rock in the corner of a room and remember, oh yeah, that's there to like absorb negative energy and ground it out. So, and as far as rituals go, I like to do the evoking pentagrams, and I do that a lot. Like I did it last night, for example. I do it often just before I go to bed, and I cast and call in the elements and the akasha, the spirit above and below, and sort of create an energetic shield with the 6 points, because then you get sort of like this round. I visualize it as kind of like a round sphere ball kind of thing, and fill it up with light energy. I have a bunch of selenite in my room, and I use the selenite for that visualization because selenite is really good at bringing the light energy in. And then after I do that in my room, I push it out and I expand it out around my property, so it's out around my property. I have mirrors in my windows to kind of like send back negative energy people might be sending my way. I have uh, the different plaques that I've made and some masks that I've painted that I put up on the outside of my house to as sort of another psychic protection. A couple years ago I decided to do the cross brooms thing, and that's over my kitchen sink. I have a pair of cross brooms with jars of crystals and in them that I hung for the elements, and bells, witch bells. I have a set of witch bells on my front door. There's all kinds of little things you can do that are very decorative and that other people might not necessarily notice. Of course, mine are probably more noticeable. They take a look at those cross brooms and they go like, "Are you a witch?" I'm like, why do you ask? Maybe, I don't know. So, I mean, there's just so many potential things. And then filling your house, filling your space with the kind of energy you want, you're sort of claiming your environment and taking charge of it. That's one of the reasons for putting the stones around or casting the circle. And then you fill your house up with the things that you want, the positive things, smells or music or laughter, whatever it is that helps you feel like you've claimed your space. And a lot of times, just doing those simple things, sort of a passive protection against certain types of people. They feel uncomfortable. They may not know why, but they don't want to go by you. So, yeah, there's lots of different possibilities there. I think I do a whole thing on witchy decorations and some of that stuff. Um, you can use like nets, fish nets is an old fashioned kind of thing to catch negative energy to keep it from getting into your house, or to give it a trap so it doesn't get in. And the fish floats, the balls and things you can use that way. I've used some of those as protective things around my property for each of the elements and stuff, and then hang them in my yard as decorations. Statuary. I have an angel statue in our yard that I've had for a long time, but you can, like, there's a lot of goddess statues that are out there that are considered like not controversial, like Kuan Yin, for example, that you can put in your yard as a yard decoration. You can make what you do in your house and around your house into a focused act of claiming and protection. So hopefully that gives you a few ideas. Anyway, Teresa says, Fairy reminded me of a question I had about my land spirit. He is not terribly friendly, although not unkind. I want to give him an offering, but don't know what. Okay, have a chat with him and see if he or she has a suggestion that you can get. Carla says, ooh, maybe that's what I'm supposed to do with the native stuff offerings for the land spirit. Maybe so. And I've been working on this place for a couple of years now. Wow, I feel dumb. Oh, I fell in love with a walking stick that a local made when we were up there and got it. It's now my staff. Awesome. Barry says, that is super duper helpful. Thank you so much. A video on witchy decor would be amazing. Yeah, I might have one. I'll have to look through my catalog and see. Because certainly, it's like, yeah. Anyone who has eyes and looking in my house and on my house should know that I'm a witch. I'm not trying to hide it, from them or from the spirits or what have you, but I did a consecration of a temple for another witch one day in a new house, and the fairies really notice witches, so you are pretty likely to attract the local fairy folk when you start to do this kind of stuff. They're tuned into it and they pay attention to it, and there's sort of like a special relationship between the fae and witches in general. Gabrielle says, hi, Gabrielle. Barry says, I want to go thrifting and buying secondhand products, but worry about the energy I might be bringing into my house life with it. That is a potential concern. So if you're sensitive, you can often tell when you touch an object whether it'd be a good thing to bring in, as far as that goes. But there's ways that you can cleanse and clear an object out. So you can use the evoking pentagrams to cleanse it and get rid of, the negative aspects of that. You can use the elements directly, like by burying it in the ground or covering it with salt, or, using a grounding stone to ground it out, like putting it on a piece of obsidian or petrified wood, focused on getting rid of negative energy that's there. Yeah, you can smudge it. There's a lot of sometimes they don't work if it's really super attached. Because Ian had that with a book. Want to open up a window? Yeah, he had to actually burn that book. He tried cleansing that thing like crazy, and it just didn't work because the person who read it was so vile and had such bad energy. It kind of like the book sucked it up.
Yeah, that seldom happens. That's the only one it just seemed easier. At that point, why bother? So I just burned it. It's like, I'm not going to put that much effort into something like this.
Just buy a different copy of the book. You don't need that one.
Plus, which at that point I'd read it and I found out there was nothing of value in it for me anyway, so I didn't care.
Yeah.
Burned it, never bought another copy.
But, that is depending on your level of sensitivity, and there are certainly sometimes objects that have spirits attached. I had a friend who bought a used wheelchair, and we had to go over and do an emergency crossing over of the poor man who was stuck to the chair and thought he'd been kidnapped, and helped him to, get over to the other side so she could use the chair. And I had someone who had a problem with a mattress. So certain items, you have to be careful of when you buy them.
Yeah, in most cases, there's not that, it's just the rare instances where they have enough energy or something attached to them. Most of them are just, like,
Yeah.
And their energy will clear out over time if they're not too obnoxious,
And I do a lot of, thrift store kind of purchases. And a lot of times what I'll do, I'll buy something, and in order to change the energy, I'll do something to the object, like I'll paint it or, fix it or something. I'll put my energy into it, and then whatever energy it had just sort of gets overwhelmed by me and is no longer a problem. So I don't usually have to like consciously clear things out. There's a few things I won't work with. Tibetan crystals are one of them, because someone had me do a reading on some Tibetan crystals, and the vision I got from reading that crystal was too intense. Seeing some people being forced to work in a cave to dig them out by gunpoint. Chinese army was forcing them to harvest these crystals, and I don't think for me any amount of cleansing would help with that, so I stay away from them. There's plenty of other crystals on the planet that I don't generally have to worry about. So yeah, you have to work within your own levels of sensitivity as well, and try not to get too worried. If it's not working for you, give it to someone else or give it back to the thrift store. So at least the prices that you usually get stuff from are not so bad. So, you know, you're not like out a whole bunch of money, which would be annoying. So Shay says, laugh out loud, your house is beautiful, definitely witchy and fae friendly. Gabrielle says, fairies are cuties, even the ugly ones. Teresa says, I was told by an older witch that she leaves any secondhand items outside for 3 days before taking it into her home. Well, that's not a bad idea. So long as no one's going to come and steal it. A secure outside place for your home. Fairy says, good to know. So cool to know doing witchy things attracts the fae folk. I'm a baby witch still, but exciting prospects. Well, isn't it wonderful to be at the beginning of this journey? I mean, I think it's great. There's so many things to explore and learn and whatnot, and I'm still learning all the time. So no matter how long you're in it, there's always more. That's one of the things I like about the path. The universe is like that, constantly presenting new things to us. Beth says, hi, everyone. Hi, Beth. Terry says, so wonderful. Yes. And I do have some videos on beginning witchcraft. There's like a playlist on for beginners that has some videos in there on some basics, you know, covering the basics, how to cast a circle and working with the elements a little bit and what the different tools are and what we use them for and that kind of thing, if you're that new. So Gabrielle says, hi, Beth. So yeah, it's Barry says, I will look for those videos. Thank you. You're welcome. And anytime you have questions, just send them to me. You can email me at siofrasmagicalcove@gmail.com or leave a comment on a video. I approve all comments, so we don't have like negative, controversial, or antagonistic or proselytizing comments on our videos because
Yeah, we
I
really
won't
prefer
let
to
them.
avoid those. Yeah.
I'm for having conversations with people, and if it's like, you know, confrontational and trying to like yell at people, every so often I get one of those where I'm going to hell and, you know, whatnot. It's like, no, I don't need to. I don't need to approve that. You have your right to feel whatever you want, but I don't have to have it on our channel. So I try to keep our channel as friendly as possible, for all the various magical practitioners that utilize it, because there's a lot of different paths out there. Haley says, me too. Something unique about magic is there is so much to learn. I can always choose to feel like a beginner again whenever I need to diversify my path. Yes, and it is. Oh, Teresa says, I'm looking into making eggshell powder, which can be used in many magical ways. Have you used this? I'm wondering if I can reuse the powder depending on what I'm using them for. No idea. I saw a thing the other day on somebody, a little short thing, talking about how many eggs it takes to fill up a jar with eggshells, grinding them up. So, but I've not used eggshell powder in any spell work at all. So, no clue. No personal experience with that. Carla says, I put in my salt, black and pink, Teresa, to the eggshells. And let your shells dry out and get the membrane out. Good, good clue. I'm sure that would be gross. Ugh. Grossly icky. To Teresa, yes. I know. Autocorrect and typing. It's always so much fun. But I might do that just to see how long it takes. And to have it around in case I needed it. I came across a couple of spells apparently that I wrote down on a card on getting rid of hexes. Curse removal powder and coffin spell. I thought that was kind of interesting. I forgot the coffin spell was for the hex, not for for you. There's a different kind of coffin spell where you put the hex in the coffin, kind of thing, and not the person who sent it to you or yourself. And supposedly it's supposed to reverse the hex without any further action on your part. And you bury or dispose of the spell remnants at a crossroads or a cemetery or cremate the coffin. And then there's this curse removal powder, Grind and powder sandalwood, red sandalwood, frankincense, myrrh, and pine needles. Burning the resulting powder on a lit charcoal, wafting the smoke as needed. Go to a crossroads and scatter the ashes to the winds in all directions, praying and affirming that the curse is lifted. That would be partially intent, a lot of intent with that. And, certainly it's intent can be a powerful part of all of that. Teresa says, why would you put it in your salt? I was going to wash them and oven dry them before grinding. Oh, Haley says, I made eggshell powder a few years ago by sun drying them for like a week and grinding in a coffee grinder. And then Teresa wonders about why Carla puts in the salt. Gabrielle says, I feel like a beginner at life after my awakening in 2023. I feel more integrated with the Kundalini. It's actually a pleasant, nurturing energy. Awesome. Carla says, protective qualities, Teresa. Haley says, took me 6 months of buying eggs from a friend to make maybe 5 ounces. That's a lot of eggs. Carla says, they're potent. Gabrielle says, I purged a lot of stress and upset out of me last week. I had a euphoria experience and laughing for hours, then crying the next few days. That sounds good. It's a good thing. We've had a bunch of death things happen around us recently. A good friend of Ian's we found out had passed, which we didn't know. And then my daughter, her extended family, I guess the lost a member yesterday, and she was kind of devastated by that because she's known this person and he's only like 4 years older than her, so very young individual. And last year she lost 2 people, so she's kind of feeling the energetic impact of that, getting older and people she knows passing along and going to the other side of the veil. I thought about the other day how many people I know that are on the other side already at this point. And it is sort of an interesting thought process to think about that. And with our latest friend finding out that he was passed over, it made both of us think about it for a while. Like, are we happy with where we're at, what we're doing? And if we suddenly weren't here, would we be satisfied with what we had done, that kind of thing? It's certainly something to think about. Barry says, I've heard once that Kundalini can be awakened if you hurt on accident your tailbone. Is that true?
Well, it's very rare and very, very seldom, but it has apparently occasionally happened from the old Hindu writings and things, yeah.
Mine was already going, so when I fell on my tailbone, it didn't do anything.
In most cases, a fall on your tailbone won't do anything, but just
sort of like the few people who fall off a ladder and become psychic, or get hit by lightning and become psychic. It's not like the common reaction. It's sort of a rare thing.
But it has indeed been known to happen, apparently.
Yeah. Teresa says, I have a lot of eggshells in my compost barrel. Gabrielle says, now I feel pretty stable. I'm sorry about the deaths, yes. Carla says, I also put rosemary and sage in it too, both black and pink. And I'm sorry. Teresa says, I know more people on the other side than I do on this side, and the people closest to me are all older. Some of them smell. But oh well. Okay, older people smell. If you didn't mean that, let me know. But maybe they do smell. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's like I'm 75 now, so, and I'm pretty healthy for my age and whatnot. So it's like I've known a lot of people that have crossed over at this point. Carla laughs at Teresa. Gabrielle says, everyone stinks sometimes. Teresa says, just making a joke out of my typos. Teresa says, I see odor. Gotcha. Beth says, me too. My eggshells go to the compost. Carla says, eggshell smell. Apparently, we're now going to talk about smell. Yeah, she said odor instead of older. So she was making a joke about smelling, apparently.
Yes.
Well, I didn't. It takes me a while. I'm slow. What can I say? I'm very literal in my brain, so there's certain things that just don't go there. Ickle says, good evening, lovely people. Hi, Ickle. Welcome. Carla says, I'm sorry. I laughed so loud I scared my cat. That's a pretty good laugh. Congratulations. Cat scaring laugh. Especially if it's your own cat. I mean, stranger cats, yeah, I can see that. But your own cat should know how you sound, right?
Well, you scare our bunny.
Well, that's true. But bunnies are startled easily.
He's very sensitive, yes.
Yeah. I sneeze sometimes and I startle the bunny.
It's more the surprise outburst that gets him to what it is.
And I do laugh at things we're watching or things you're saying or whatever. He's really good at making me laugh, which is a good thing. Laughter is important. It's good medicine. So good for you for laughing, and same with Gabrielle. Good for laughing. Laughing is good. Carla says she was sleeping on my lap. Not anymore. Woke her right up, huh? Yep. He's going like, how rude. I was having a nap. Hello. My person was just not being correct. Barry says, I have a question about familiars. Do you choose if your pet is your familiar, or are there signs you should look for? I just got a new puppy, so I'm curious. And I think there's special signs. Not everyone's pet becomes a familiar, even if you're a magic user. It's going to depend upon the personality of the pet. So, I mean, a lot of people's familiars are not actual living animals. They're spirit animals instead, like mine. So, it can go either way. But I think that what you notice is a special type of attention that your animal suddenly has with what you're doing. And traditionally, familiars help you with your spell work and your magic, as well as sometimes are protectors and warn you about dangerous people coming in, which a lot of pets will do anyway, regardless, because they care about their people and, they're on the lookout for danger. So I think it's like that. There's a controversy in the witch community about whether or not a pet can be a familiar, and that a lot of people are misunderstanding what a familiar is. However, according to Doreen Valiente, who was sort of involved in the whole creation of Wicca with Gardner and so forth, and was one of his priestesses in her initial books about the craft and whatnot, she talks about that being not that uncommon, that a pet can become a familiar. So I think it's an individual thing like everything else, and people get like stuck in definitions of things. They think that there's one right way, one wrong way, or their way is the right way and everyone else's way is the wrong way. It doesn't matter what the tradition is. There's certain people in any of them that are going to have that attitude, instead of for all the unique different individuals and have different stages of development and learning and experience and so forth that we're in, and have different things that work for us that might not work for them, that kind of thing. And it is an individual path. So I guess you'll see as things continue. Carla says she's definitely offended the cat. Gabrielle says, I've seen videos online of cats disappearing on Ring cameras and trying to figure out if it's a camera glitch or the cat disappearing. I had a cat once that seemed to be able to disappear from inside of a locked closet inside of a room and would be outside in the morning. And I was never sure, because the person whose room she was in, he was a sleepwalker. So I wasn't sure if maybe he was letting the cat out and then not remembering it because he walked in his sleep, he drove in his sleep. It was very weird. He did all kinds of things in his sleep. I never caught him doing it though, but I swear that cat would start inside the house. Everybody would be sound asleep as far as I knew. And then in the morning, open up the door and there's the cat outside going, hey. So we assumed the cat could walk through walls. We were probably wrong, but it was entertaining to think about. It was a big fluffy cat. It says, can you use your psychic powers and tell me where I put that container of bell parts I made? Sorry. Use yours. Your psychic powers, not mine. Try using a dowsing rod or a pendulum and see if that works for you. Carla says, mine's a guinea pig, passed about 5 years ago. I made us part of each other's tribe. Cool. Barry says, that sounds great. Thank you, Siofra. Carla, that's so cool. How do you know it was your familiar? I think that Charlie might have been a familiar. He was a very special cat. Teresa says, I'll try the dowsing rods. Gabrielle says, maybe on top of the fridge, Teresa. Carla says she could sense my moods. They're also unique animals. And the relationships we have with them. Or each one is just such a unique experience. Teresa says, Gabrielle, cat cookies up there. Ah, not bells, but cat cookies. I have cat treats on top of my fridge. I've started giving Bugsy a treat before he goes to bed, and now he has to have a treat before I go to bed. Gabrielle says cat cookies. Yes. Pretty funny. He just sings and sings last night, and he was just singing me into the kitchen, going, hello, 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 hello. And the bunny's now following me into the kitchen in the evening because I'm going to go get him some food. He's just showing up in the kitchen, and then I get his food and start going into the living room. I go like, come on, you going to come, Quinn? Then he comes flying by me to get ready for the food. Yep, they're pretty funny. They're very smart, all of them. They pick up on stuff. They know what's going on in their environment and what's good. But yeah, I'll be interested to see the dowsing rods work. Hi, Gabrielle says, I've been losing excess weight, so the Kundalini has definitely helped with self-control and self-discipline. I'm less disassociated. This is good. Carla says, churros and her special diet treats here. For churros. Teresa says, do meteors look like stars that are moving? Trying to figure out if it's that or faraway planes. No, meteors, well, if it was a big meteor and you could see it with the naked eye, it'd be a pretty big meteor. It could be a satellite, because those are in low enough Earth orbit, and if it is a satellite, then it will disappear when it gets to a certain part of the horizon because it'll go behind the Earth's shadow, and they are in mostly a certain line. If it's an airplane, it should be blinking. If it's a meteorite and it's falling, obviously it's going to leave a streak and it's only going to be visible for a short period of time. So you're clearly not talking about that. But yes. But it could be a faraway plane. Carla says, do you have a she shed, Teresa? Might be where she's hiding her bells, is in her she shed. I don't know where Teresa hides her things from herself. Carla says, we had a rare meteor shower over the past couple of nights. Teresa, comes around every 5 years. Teresa says, Carla, buying a shed this fall or spring, and we'll be fixing it up. So it doesn't have a shed yet. Going to have a she shed. And I figured out that it was buying. Yay me. Okay. We're waiting for more ideas. Terry says, Siofra and Ian, what are your favorite spells to do on the day-to-day? I tend not to do day-to-day spells.
I
I
do
mean,
daily, day-to-day exercises, and
right,
meditations,
meditations
and
and
practices,
practices, but not actual spells. Like I do, working with the elemental heads and whatnot pretty much every day. I do the tree meditation and the healing chant. Not every day, but pretty regularly. I have a Aurora invocation that I do in the mornings when I remember, first thing in the morning, since she's the goddess of the dawn. And I have a Garuda chant that I do in the evenings for protection, or during the day. I can do that any time of day. If I feel I need it, I sometimes will do that in the car when I'm driving, if people are really driving like idiots around me. I have some sort of, I don't know what you call them, static spells maybe. Like I have crows and I have a relationship, and so I take some of I use their wing feathers for protection, talismans for driving, and so we have several vehicles and people we know that have vehicles, and I'll wrap the shaft of the feather with red thread, and then people can hang it from their rearview mirror, and that's sort of like a passive spell, I guess. That's just there all the time. Um, so like this, I build things and put them in place and leave them there. So I guess it depends on your definition of spell work. Like I think of spell work as like I need to take care of something in particular, to do something about something. And that only happens if something comes up. I do it as needed. So, or as requested in some cases. I don't usually do them for other people though, at this point. I do mostly just for myself. And yeah, I don't remember the last time I had to do a spell of any kind. I've done some rain magic a couple years back. We did that, which could be considered sort of a spell. But yeah, everyone's practice is a little bit different for that kind of thing. So yeah, Carla says, "Huh? I clearly heard she shed, but I guess that's not where your things are." Teresa says, "What is the most recent magical technique you two have learned?" I've been doing a lot of mental and astral travel lately, but it's not that I hadn't learned that before. It's just activity.
yeah, I've been doing practices and things, but they aren't particularly new. I've just been practicing the ones that I've been
Doing, and they're just getting better. I mean,
Yeah.
they get deeper as you go each time you practice something like that. So I've really been focusing on the strands of universal connection, uh, consciously focusing on feeling that, especially just before I'm going to sleep. I feel like I'm a node in a cocoon kind of a thing, wrapped up in an energy field, and then there's all these streams of energy coming off of me and going in different directions, and kind of feeling along the strands to see what I might need to know about and let it come to me so that I know what's coming, what's happening, or what have you. Um, but that's just a deepening connection. It's not like
Yeah, when you
a new technique.
it's kind of a question is when you get older and older, you stop looking so much for new techniques and you want to really make use of the ones you have. So, well, I'm still reading stuff all the time. Um, I've read about new techniques, but I haven't taken any of them in practice because I've got my practices all laid out, know what I need to do. So I guess that's not a very good answer to your question. I guess the answer is there haven't been any lately, but
So Beth says,
yeah.
Teresa, ask the fairies to help you. Pickle says, do you have any tips for automatic writing practice? I want to try it, but I can't quite get out of my own way enough. That's the trick right there, getting out of your own way.
Yeah. Barden speaks about it coming in, there's several different forms. In one form, the writing happens and you don't know what you're writing until you actually write it. But there's another form in which it appears that you yourself know what you're going to write, but it only occurs. And this is what has happened to me in the past, is it occurs at the moment and I would like get a word and then I would write down that word and then I would get the next word, so I wouldn't know what it was, but then I would get it and consciously know what it was going to be and write it down, which is apparently the more common method by which that happens rather than the other one where you just don't even know what you're going to write. You write it. So
sort of a form of channeling.
But it is a way of, you have to let go and maintain a certain awareness and control of your hands and things too. The only thing I could say to help with that would be just practice.
Well, and
Really.
then there's also that letting a spirit use just your hand.
Well, yeah, that's a whole nother thing.
And so giving up
If you're-
control of just a part of you and letting some other force or whatever write it, but not giving up all control, not like being a complete medium or something like that. So,
Right, that method, Barden suggests that you separate out your mental hand from your astral and physical hand and set it aside, and you leave a vacancy there, which will then be transferred into the Akasha, which a spirit being can use to write using your hand. But he also recommends you do levitation exercises, and you can till the point where you can levitate your arm without using your muscles, and that becomes part of that. That's seems to be a harder practice to do unless it would happen to be something you brought over from a past life or something, in which
Right.
case it might be very natural and easy for you.
yeah, and
The best thing is probably to try to create mental silence if you can.
getting
Let
out
it
of your own
happen.
way
Yeah,
enough.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, not being attached to the outcome.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Be feel neutral about the outcome,
So
because
Teresa,
that interfere with it a lot. Sorry.
yep, that's okay. Teresa says, Beth, the fairies still have my beads and turquoise stone. I don't think they will be of assistance. Beth says, Teresa, they do, but if you ask, you'd be surprised. Gabrielle says, laugh out loud, the fairies probably took my ring and then regifted it. Teresa says, I like that, Siofra, I should give that a try. That's the cocoon and connection with this to the universe. Carla says, I had the most disturbing dream this week and was testing the strands, but they didn't get in touch with me, so they must not have seen me. Yeah, I saw that post. Teresa says, Ian, I'm older than you are.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Okay. Nocturna says, hey, Siofra and husband, just popping on quickly to say blessed Maybon. Thank you, Nocturne. When is that happening? Next week. Coming up. Only about a week away. Yeah, thank you. Carla says, Ickle, my best friend of over 40 years is starting to do that. Automatic writing. Gabrielle says, I've watched the fairies turn into bright orbs, like as bright as red lights, and play with and shake crystals chirp. I was in shock. Gabrielle says, so I leave them shiny crystals to play with sometimes. Teresa says, I tried automatic writing. Those spirits do have the messiest writing. I couldn't even read it.
Now, I understand that's pretty normal at first too, and that improves with practice in a lot of cases. But again, it just depends on your ability and the spirit's ability. You know, it's a not probably not all spirits find it as easy to do automatic writing through a person as other ones.
I imagine that's a
probably
skill
like
set.
people, there are more and less talented ones.
Yeah. Haley says, oh my gosh, not separating the hand from the whole body was exactly what led me to stop. Never realized that before, so thank you both. You're welcome. Gabrielle says, seeing crystals shake and move across the floor was pretty wild. Nicholas says, thanks both. Could releasing expectations first be a useful ritual? Maybe try to release them into the water or something? It's given me some ideas. Thank you. Yes.
I'd say it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. try to even get down to even, you might find that to be quite the practice in itself. You might start getting down into some subconscious expectations that you don't even realize you have.
Yeah, and teaching yourself how to let go of expectations can help you in ways you can't even imagine, because in real life, there's a lot of times that we end up in conflict situations because of the expectations that we had going into a situation, instead of being in the moment and paying attention to what was actually happening in front of the universe. We have like a picture in our head that we're trying to make it match.
That's one of my biggest problems with using a pendulum. Is it'll work for me if I start and I get like one answer right off the bat and that's what I'm looking for, it's good. But the minute I start getting expectations or thoughts of whether it's going to work or fail or whatever, then I can't use it anymore. So I definitely kill my ability. If I don't get it right away with a pendulum, I'm not going to get it, because then I start, having things interfere with my ability to do it.
Carlos says, I was kind of relieved they didn't get in touch, and I found out through my kid that everything is good with the person, but wow, now I have no explanation for it. Well, it could be projecting anxiety. Maybe there's some other situation, because dreams are like over the top. I mean, if you don't like somebody, you might dream about killing them, but that doesn't mean you really want to kill them. It just means that you want them out of your life and you want to get rid of them. It's like they're not good to have around you, or you're just really annoyed or angry or something like that. So remember the fact that dream symbolism is like the most dramatic version of whatever the feeling is.
And a lot of times it's exaggerated for
very much
so that you'll notice it. Think Looney Tunes cartoon style instead of
right. Gabrielle says the energy from all the paranormal stuff in Kundalini has fried a lot of my electronics. Being a witch can be expensive sometimes. Beth says, Gabrielle, it can be. Especially if you have to, replace your electronics constantly. Get better shielding, right? Shield your electronics from yourself.
Well, that could be part of it, yeah. And I once blew up an amplifier by just touching it.
In the wrong place at the wrong time.
It just turned out that they discontinued the amplifier because it was extremely sensitive to a small static charge. So small a person couldn't even feel it, but it fried the amplifier. And that's what happened in that case. So that's when we had the store, and I couldn't get a replacement for it because they discontinued it. They all keep frying.
And you're like, well, it would have been nice if you told us that before we bought it from you, trying to sell it. It's like, yeah. Beth says, yes, I already did that. Okay. I'm getting warm.
Warm in here. I was going to open that other window.
I got something in my eye. An eyelash tried to get in my eye. Love that. Not.
It was kind of quiet today. We don't have loud neighbors running motorcycles.
Well, yay.
Banging and hammering.
We have some people.
They're not saying anything.
Yeah.
You don't want to challenge the universe.
That's right. You got to watch out for that. If you say a challenging statement to the universe, like, I'll never do that, never say that. Don't ever say that. It's like, it's a challenge. The universe takes that. Oh, really? Are you sure? I mean, I could create a scenario where you would end up doing the thing you're pretty sure you would never do if I worked hard at it. And you're like, no, cancel. No, not doing that. Nicole says, Gabrielle, you might want to have an electrician check your wiring just to be on the safe side. Yeah. Gabrielle says, if I start laughing, my lights will flicker.
I'll tell you what, I had kind of an interesting experience once, since we're just kind of talking about stuff. So I had a boss, and this boss offered me one of his apartments he owned to rent. That was it. Okay. What I didn't know was he wanted me to rent it there so he could get the money, but what I didn't know is he kicked out the previous tenant, not for any reason, just so I could move in there, and I didn't know that. It turned out she was a witch. And so this is interesting. And nothing ever came of it, but I always wondered about one thing, where I got up in the middle of the night one night, and walking through the living room, and the porch light exploded with a bang, and this bright blue flash, which just like came right through the window and just like blinding blue. It's like, and made me stumble and really whack my shins on a really hard like maple table that was right there about shin height. And if the thing wouldn't have blown up right then and flashed blue, I wouldn't have whacked my shins on the table. So I always wondered if that was related.
You
However,
never
I had
know.
nothing to do with it. I didn't know he was kicking somebody out to move me in there.
Gabrielle says, if I start laughing, my lights will flicker. It's not the wiring, ickle. I can't even wear watches. I'll touch stuff and it will stop working. I mess with electronics everywhere and have even caused power outages. Yeah, and there are some people where that just happens. I've known a couple people like that.
I've known several people
You cannot wear watches at
who had the
all.
watch problem.
Yeah.
I never had a watch problem when I used to wear watches, but I've heard it from several people.
And sometimes people who've been hit by lightning
course.
have that problem.
Of course, one of them worked at a steel place, a junkyard actually, in Medford area. It was called Sessler's, and I postulated at the time, I was just a young teenager, but I postulated it was probably the magnetic, because they used those big magnets to pick up the metal that they used to like move cars with and things like that.
Ah,
My guess was it was just the magnet screwing with the
all the electronics.
internals in his watch.
Yeah, because he was wearing a watch and working with a big magnet.
Yeah, he was wearing magnetic, a watch that was mechanical too, not necessarily electronic at that time. So, but anyway,
But yeah, people are different.
I have heard that people having watches burn out seems to be one of the most common things I've heard of.
Beth says, Gabrielle, I've never been able to wear a watch even before getting struck by lightning twice. That's funny. You got struck by lightning too. Gabrielle says, the key for me is to be calm. Jen says, hello everyone, happy Sunday. This has been one crazy week. Well, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
Welcome. Gabrielle says, not get too happy or too angry. Laugh out loud. Carla says, the hubs can't wear a watch. Beth says, hi Jen. Carla says, I've never heard of that before. I mean, it's just, yeah. Some people in electronics are counter, like,
Yep.
they have like a counter electronics vibe or something. I once was so staticky, I kept shocking myself in the grocery store. It was driving me crazy. I don't know why I was retaining a static electricity, but it was so bad that if I touched a can in the store, there would be this giant arcing spark, and it would zap my finger.
That reminds me of a funny thing. You remember back when we met, I had that Geo Metro, right? It has a really close top to the head, and for some reason the roof, the headliner of that car would get all charged up with electricity. So when I was driving the car, my hair would all be sticking to the roof. Because it has a low roof, so my head was really close anyway, within like an inch or two.
I can see that. You driving there and your hair is like,
But, yep, that would happen all the time.
Einstein.
Yep.
Gabrielle says, I've been zapped by lightning before. I saw a blue ball of light in my place a few days later. Yes, I was getting shocks in my feet and static with everything I touched. That was when the Kundalini first rose. Carla's laughing. Ian, laugh, laugh. Teresa says, Ian, Marge Simpson driving.
Yep. Yep.
And Beth says, Ian, laugh, laugh. Gabrielle says, I'm not trashing electronics as far as I was, so I think it's stabilizing. Oh, good. As fast as you would. Okay, good. Maybe what you need is one of those grounding straps, that drain the static out of you and put it into the floor. At some people who work with electronics, they wear something like that around their wrist or what have you when they're working on things. And then it automatically grounds your body, and it might be a good addition to learning how to ground energetically.
I understand you can buy grounding shoes now that ground, as long as you're walking on the ground. They ground you.
Okay, they won't work on cement or...
Well, you can't make an electrical ground connection through something like cement. We're talking electrical grounding, so yeah.
Yeah.
Not like emotional.
Carla says, I get charged up during winter and won't pump my own gas because of it. Ooh, smart. I would not want to spark at a gas pump. Gabrielle says, oh, maybe I should get one. You never know. It could help. I mean, If I start getting that staticky again, I might try one and see if I can ground myself out.
Oh, electronics ones are just a wrist strap, and then they have a little spring cord, and then a alligator clip on the other end. You just attach to something metal or grounded.
So you need one that has like a string that comes down, or
Well, I've got one of these round
a
curled cords,
strap
that
thing
stretch out.
that goes
stretchy
down and
cord.
touches the ground. And
Well, some kind of physical ground. A lot of times metal things are grounded in general, or they work as a ground. But yeah, physical ground or someplace that transmits electric current.
that says, I'm always shocking myself and people. Charity says, could a person literally die of grief and sadness? My mother is elderly and slowly aging naturally. In the past year, I feel I am also fading away with her.
It can
Yes.
definitely affect you, yeah.
You have to be careful of that. And there is such a thing as a lot of times it happens with couples that are really close. One partner dies and the other one dies from heartbreak.
Not really. YouTube is getting ridiculous.
What did they do now?
They held Gabriel's comment that she says, I wish people could pump my gas too.
What? Boy, they really don't like the word pump, apparently.
Or what? Gas? I don't know.
I don't know what it is. But yeah, Charity, you need to take care of yourself.
Must be the word pump.
When
ridiculous.
somebody is that you're really close to is ill, a lot of times, especially as empaths, we have a tendency to take on the other person's illness in an attempt to help them. And if it's something that can't be helped, then it's detrimental to us and our own system and our own health and so forth. So you need to get away from her.
Okay, now, Teresa, yours was held too now.
Oh, no.
He says, how many people do you wish could pump your gas?
Okay.
Apparently they've decided it's a euphemism or something.
She says, let's all say the word pump a few more times. Apparently that went through because she put it in quotes.
Maybe so.
All right.
That's pretty funny, though. Pretty ridiculously silly.
But anyway, I'm back here. Yeah, Charity. Definitely take care of yourself and find other people to be around that are not fading away so that you don't end up, making yourself sick. So it can be a pretty primal connection with a parent. Pickle says, I wasn't downing you, Gabrielle, but if I was frying light bulbs with my magnetic field, I would want an electrician to make sure my wiring wasn't also getting squiffy. I'm pyrophobic, though. I don't like fire either. I'm with you on that. Gabrielle says, Faraday shoes, laugh out loud. Carlos says, I'm afraid of sparking the pump and can't remember to ground it out beforehand. Full service for a few months. Gabrielle says, that's a great idea. Teresa says, Charity, boundaries. Everyone is laughing about all that stuff with the stupid YouTube. Carla's laughing. Gabrielle's laughing. She's so silly. All right, we digress. Yes, we do. Beth says, Shay. Ah. Silly people. Beth says, my health went down when I was my mom's caregiver. And when my granddaughter, when I had to take her to the emergency room one time, and she was not in good shape. I mean, she was hallucinating. She was paranoid. She thought there was a shooter in the hospital. She wasn't cooperating with the medical staff. She wasn't going to stay like she should. And I was just very, very concerned for her, and I ended up starting to cry really hard, and I sort of felt like my heart broke. I felt that kind of feeling there, and that worried me that I felt that, because I don't want to accidentally damage my own body in that process. But she's okay at this point, as far as physically, as far as we know. But yeah, that whole taking care of people that are sick and ill and being connected to them can definitely have a more direct effect than a stranger sometimes a stranger can have a pretty powerful effect as well. So,
Yeah,
we're
usually not so directly.
yeah, we're emotional beings at our core, really, when it comes to it, and about connections. So when we have a strong connection and then it's fading away, then we can sense and feel that. So, but anyone who's taking care of someone who is sick, learning how to distance yourself from the process is important, and taking yourself out of the equation periodically so that you can renew your own connection to life itself, like going out for a walk and being in the woods or nature, going to a park or a garden or, anything, uh, going to, visit with friends that you have a strong link to that are not sick, that kind of stuff. So, yep. Carla says, what's everyone's think about the power of witchy laughter? Laughter is power in and of itself and very healing, so I guess witchy laughter would be even better. Although some people might think of it as a witchy cackle and get scared.
That'd be a good reason to do it on purpose.
That's right. You could scare people with it. Gabrielle says, Zicky, my apartment has already been inspected. I have nothing to prove. Well, good. I'm glad you're taking care of yourself. Charity says, thank you all. I've been mysteriously sick. My daddy and 2 brothers also passed away here. Now my mom is passing. Okay, I love my parents with all my heart. If for some strange reason I go early, yeah, fascinating life and death. Well, yeah, we've been thinking about that ourselves this past week. Other family members have passed recently.
And a good friend of mine.
And a good friend of Ian's that he's known for a long time. You knew him before we met.
Oh, yeah.
So
yep.
You've known him longer than we've been together.
Yep.
Yeah. Dave says, hi, Beth. Charity says, fascinating life and death. Carla says, Charity, I don't know what your insurance situation is, but if you can get home health aid help, please do that. I'm sorry. Energetic hugs. It seems intentional laughter can scare the devil. Well, actually, laughter can certainly put a lot of negative spirits off their game, considering what I did to that tree spirit that was trying to scare me. I think laughter is a much better response to almost any situation than fear, for example, or screaming. And fear and screaming tends to feed negative things, and laughter tends to go, what? The heck is that? Gabrielle says, I can control the photokinesis sometimes after meditation, but if I laugh, the lights flicker. The witch implications for that is hilarious at this point. Charity says, thank you so much. I think you all are an awesome couple. Well, you're welcome. I mean, things are hard. Life and death, they're real things, and that's a part of being in a body and being in physical reality and so forth, is that, things come and go. My daughter is really dealing with that right now, having lost 2 people that she had known for most of her life last year, and then another one just yesterday, and it's certainly hitting her in the emotional intensity she doesn't usually express. So, yeah, I feel for what she's going through, and like I said, I've thought about how many people are on the other side that I've known and had encounters with. It'd be interesting to see what my crew is like when I go on the other side, and how many of them are going to show up and say, hey, we've been waiting for you. Took you long enough. I'm like, yeah, I'm not in any hurry. I just read an article yesterday that there are 100,000 people that are over 100 years old in Japan. They've just passed a new record.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep. That's because apparently they're healthier. And the oldest person in Japan is 114 right now. So, Gabrielle says, my old friend got scared of me and ended the friendship over me laughing and the lights flickering in the restaurant.
Well, that's unfortunate.
People are so scared of what they don't understand, aren't they? Boy. I mean, you answer the phone when you're a teenager without call waiting and call forwarding and caller ID, and you know who it is, and you say, hey, how are you doing? And they go like, yeah, I'm doing pretty good. And then they go like, how did you know who I was? And I'm like, I don't know, I just knew who you were when I answered the phone. And then they never speak to you again. Yeah, it's common.
I've done that same thing though.
That was before everyone always knew everyone's phone number was in their phone. So that was before we had answering machines, I think. It might have been. It might have been right around the time. But anyway. Carla says, exactly, Siofra. Rage screams tend to put them in their notice too. Well, anger is a good reaction in certain situations. And confrontational, rage or whatever is like, how dare you? Who do you think you are? And the spirit goes like, what? I don't know who I am. Tell me. What do I do? Help me. Jay says, I am so sorry, Ian, to hear about your friend's passing.
Oh, well, thank you. It was, I knew he had illness and heart problems and things, so it wasn't.
Yeah, but he was
too
working
much
so
of a
hard on
shock,
staying
yeah.
healthy, and he was so like
Yeah.
invested in that gung ho kind of gonna live forever thing.
Always had been too, for
Yeah.
all of his life, pretty much.
Yeah. Gabrielle says she thought I was possessed after I started feeling joy. She was fundy Christian and liked me when I was sad and traumatized, but when I got
Oh.
freer inside, all of a sudden I'm possessed.
I
I
hate
understand that
that.
one.
We've run into
I
people like that.
well,
yeah.
my former partner David, who I did the channeling with, the Jungian psychologist or whatever, he liked me better when I was sad and broken and crying because he believed in the genuineness
Uh-oh.
of my sorrow and pain. However, when I started to experience joy and laughter, he didn't believe in it. And so he didn't find me genuine then. And he told me that. And I'm like, well, you just like broken people and you just want to, fix them. So, poop on you. I'll probably get in trouble for that. On who knows how many levels. But yeah, a lot of times people like the idea of someone who needs them. It's like it fulfills something in their own psyche, the idea of being needed by someone else because apparently they can't exist without a purpose. And if they think their purpose is to help other people, they have to have broken people to fix, right? So yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, it's one of the reasons why Ian and I get along. It's like wherever we are, it's like whatever mood we're in, whatever we're going through, it's just who we are.
Sorry, yeah.
There's none of this, you know, you don't like me because you're happy or whatever. Ah, people. Anyway, Carlos says manipulative a-hole. And Shay says, Gabrielle, that sucks. Joy and laughter are wonderful. Laugh on. Gabrielle says, joy is just as authentic as sadness. I'm not suppressing. I just accept all my feelings. It's easier to laugh and feel good so haters can kick rocks. Well, yeah, it takes a lot less energy and it's a lot better for your body. You make much more, you make better hormones, enzymes, whatever, with laughter than you do with tears and crying, although sometimes that's necessary in order to help get things out because you want things to move, not get stuck. And I think that's one of the issues is that, it's like you want your feelings, your emotions to be able to move through you. And so the sad ones can move through you with tears and talk and so forth, and the joyful ones can move through you with laughter and uplifting feelings and encountering the rest of the universe and enjoyment and all that other stuff. So, yeah. So definitely, I applaud good laughter. People are strange. There's so much projection that goes on between expectations and projections. It's just amazing that anybody can communicate with anyone at all. So that's why we enjoy these conversations. It's nice to be able to just say how you're feeling and generally speaking, not get, confronted about it or judged by it. Carlos says, I remember when a friend of mine was going through cardiac rehab, his doctor told him to watch comedies. Yeah, and actually, Gabrielle says, exactly, Siofra. And that's that they've also discovered that if you're going through chemotherapy, cancer treatment, or whatever, laughter helps you heal faster. It gives you more energy. It sort of supplies something, and it's good. It's good, definitely. And finding a good comedy depends on what you think of as a comedy, I guess. Whatever works.
Yeah. Good is a
relative term.
thinking of some of some people
Unfavorite.
I knew, huh?
The things that they like that we did
Well,
not.
yes.
Yeah. Yes, we all have different things. The different kinds of things make us laugh. So
One of my coworkers he used to have when he worked for the lottery, he watched things and was like, "That's awful." He loved things I thought were just awful.
yeah, we tried because we committed to trying, and we were just like, no, never again. Did not laugh except maybe once throughout the whole thing. But it all depends on your personality. Gabrielle says, well, my friend was very emotionally repressed person in every way. So I know she was just unhappy and stuck, and yeah, maybe the way I changed so dramatically scared her. You think it would encourage her to see that it could change, that someone could change from, sad to glad. I mean, I would find that inspiring, not frightening, but that's me. Carol says,
Well,
witchy laughter, let's all laugh with intent for the next week and see what happens.
no, that's what Eckhart Tolle goes into some length about those kind of things, and it's that people can become so attached to their problems that they identify with them so much that this becomes part of their personality. They're this kind of a victim or that kind of a victim, and
Yeah.
then it causes them problems they can't get out of.
Well, I had that one client when we were in Medford who was battered. She was
Yeah.
beaten really badly, and then she got into a really bad car accident, which she was so fragile, he stopped beating her. And so she identified the pain that she was in with safety. And when I started helping her feel better, she would do something to make herself be worse. And it was an unconscious desire to keep safe instead of leaving him.
Right. Unfortunately there's all kinds of those things that can happen to people, and you get entirely the wrong reaction to things. And
Yep. And there's only so much you can do. You can try and help, and if they can't accept it or
they
don't
have to
want
be
it.
able to see what's going on. That's the only way.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Charity says, I enjoy making my mama breakfast every day. She is very intelligent and spiritually wise. I'm grateful my parents were and are my best friends. Well, it's good to be able to enjoy having her while she's here. And you may be pre-grieving, thinking about how it will be when she's not here, and that could also be affecting you as far as it goes. Um, but yeah, so which I can understand too when you're taking care of someone you know is dying. We've known a few people who've gone through that, and it can be very challenging, to stay positive and up and stuff like that. Not trying not to let them see how you're feeling in some cases, and not wanting to distress them or making their the last times that they have filled with trying to help you through what you're doing, all that stuff. So yeah, definitely a challenge. Life is often filled with many challenges, and there's no right or wrong way to go about it. Just like, try to take care of yourself as much as you can. That's all you can really do. And I mean, we're all going to be in the ground at some point. There's no escaping that as far as it goes. And our belief systems can help us cope with that by, having out of body experiences, encountering other spirit beings and so forth, giving us or remembering our past lives, can give us that sense of continuation that we continue on. And so it's not as foreboding in that sense for some of us that way. But, it's a fact of existence. We get to experience that with our pets because most of us have pets that live a lot shorter lives than we do. I think that might be one way to help prepare us for that. But I think the thing that happens is when someone you're really close to passes, it's like, it's not so much that they're gone on to whatever it is that comes next, but the fact that you can no longer talk to them. You can't touch them, they can't touch you. There's this loss of connection that's sort of physically palpable, and it's that You know, it's like when we found out that our friend was gone, it was suddenly like, well, we can't call him up and talk to him anymore. We did not know what he was going through at the
Which was
time.
actually how we found out. We called him up to talk to him.
Left a message, his phone is still working. We had no idea. And then we checked his Facebook page and someone said, sorry about your passing or something like that. I mean, it was pretty clear from the message that he had passed and was not there. I'm really going to miss you. I'm like, oh, great. And then no more posts. That was the end of all of his posts. That was like stopped right there. So I'm like, okay, yeah, that is pretty clear. So, you know, our lives from the moment he passed until now, we didn't know he was gone. So we didn't feel that. But now we know he's gone and then we feel it. So I think that's part of it. But enjoy your breakfasts with your mother. I think that's great that you get to spend some time with her and you know, treasure those moments.
Well, it's just really nice that you have a good relationship with your parents.
Not all of us have.
Mine wasn't good, and then yeah, too long of a story there. My dad was all right, but my mother kept us away from him through childhood and brainwashed us as he was bad and all that crap. So, and now my parents are dead, so that's
Both
life.
of them.
Yep.
Yep. At least we did get to see your father before he passed and
Yeah.
got to visit him a few times before it was too late. And we did that on purpose when we found out about that. So you know, have some sense of closure as far as it goes, not as many regrets. My daughter did something, you know, that is pretty standard for pagan practices when somebody dies. She texted me last night after I went to bed, and I found the message this morning. And she wrote a letter to this person, and I'm sure read it out loud and then burned it. So that sent the words and her feelings and stuff like that into the universe. She'll probably have to do that more than once. But she lost like her best friend last year, and then her ex-husband as well. And so, you know, it's just been some bigger losses. She's had more death around her, though, than I have, as far as people she knows, friends, acquaintances, and things like that that have crossed over to the other side. It's like, I don't have that many people that I'm really close to that I've seen, like just before they've died, kind of thing. It's just interesting. But I've had plenty of people who've passed over that I know on the other side. I just wasn't there when they did it. I don't know. It's weird. It's different. Anyway. But Shay says, it's so strange learning about someone's passing via a post on Facebook. And Ian, I'm so glad you and Siofra found each other. So much love and support and healing between you both.
So am I.
Yes, we're very happy that we found each other too. And we know how lucky we are to have. Even now, we're still sometimes astonished. Like, what? How did this happen? I don't know, but here we are. So, yay. Now, relationships can be tricky. So, we're getting, we only have like a minute and a half left before we're at an hour and a half. This has been an interesting session talking about all sorts of things. So I certainly hope we've been helpful for a few people today. Carla says, a love story for the ages. Aha. Fairy tale book. Where's the fairy tale book? No, don't want a fairy tale book because they always end with happy ever after, and then you never know how it ended because you know it's not how it works. And they lived happily ever after. No, they didn't have to go to the bathroom or get sick or recover from an injury or any of that stuff. Teresa says, different energy today for sure. And Beth says, peace and love, blessed be. Thank you, Beth. Shay says, thank you. You've been very helpful. You're welcome. We appreciate you guys. We like our community, and it's a good thing. Carla says, so helpful. Teresa says, I second. Peace and love, blessed be. Okay, guys, so next week is going to be Mabon. So if you guys have got any rituals you're going to do, you can tell us all about it next week. Or excuse me, fall equinox or spring equinox, depending on where you live. It's the equinox. It's always the equinox, no matter where you are. Nicholas says, I appreciate you very much. Have a good week. Beth says, I love it here. Yeah, it's a good thing to do on a Sunday afternoon, apparently. Verity says, happy Maybon time. Thank you all. You're welcome. You too. Ian says, blessed be, and thanks for your wonderful participation.
I don't know
Carla
where
says,
that A went.
yeah, it just disappeared. It was going like,
Somebody ate my A.
Someone ate your A. Carla says, love you all. Have a good week. Teresa says, Maybon will be on Monday this year. It'll be the day after we meet next. Barry says, thank you. You're welcome. Hopefully we'll see you again. Carla says, blessed be all. And Gabrielle says, blessed be. And Ferry says, hearts. All right, guys. We'll talk to you all later. Bye.
Bye.